Okay, so let's unpack this. We've got our hands on a syllabus for a 15-week self-directed course, and the required tools are, well, they're a bit of a paradox.
They really are.
You need a record player, a stack of actual vinyl, a completely analog notebook, and then you need access to an advanced AI tool called NotebookLM.
It's the ultimate creative challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our deep dive today is into what the creators call the analog-digital bridge.
Right.
It's a custom curriculum, and the whole idea is to transform these very slow, handwritten thoughts on music into, sophisticated AI-generated audio reviews.
So our mission here is to figure out why. Why this intense, almost purposeful friction? Why force the slow tactile experience, the vinyl, the paper, just to feed this super fast engine of technology?
It feels counterintuitive.
It feels like driving a horse and carriage onto the information superhighway. I mean, what's the point?
The philosophical intent is really key here. This isn't about productivity at all. It's about depth. They describe it as a pressure-free journey.
Pressure-free? Okay.
Yeah, and it's all about prioritizing slow media to cultivate a deep, honest relationship with the music, and, this is critical, with your own creative voice. The argument is pretty simple. High-quality input, even if it's inconvenient to create, guarantees richer, more unique output from the AI.
Okay, so for anyone listening who might be thinking about this as a personal challenge, there are 3 mandatory phases across the 15 weeks.
That's right. Phase 1 is the analog archive, and they are strict about this. Every single initial thought, every feeling has to be in a physical paper notebook.
No digital shortcuts allowed.
None. Then you have phase 2, the scripting phase. This is where those handwritten notes are transcribed and structured. Or you could say they're weaponized into source material for the AI.
And then it all wraps up with the final paper.
Right, which isn't a music critique. It's a reflection on the entire process of, human curation meeting AI synthesis.
Let's start with that foundation then, because the whole first month is just about the ritual. The tools are so physical, the record player, the heavy vinyl, the paper. It's all about the tactile experience.
And that requires a huge amount of self-discipline, which is why the syllabus lays out this very strict 7-day cycle.
Structure is the substitute for a grading system, basically.
Exactly. For an autodidact, it's everything. It's a rhythmic consistency that's designed to turn this whole thing into a habit.
So walk us through the week. What does that pace actually feel like?
Okay, so Monday through Wednesday is all about the core activity. Active listening and writing in that notebook.
Yeah.
You are forced to just sit with an album and absorb it, longhand.
Just that.
Just that. Then Thursday, it's a complete shift. Reputable research, and this is where the friction really kicks in. The research has to come exclusively from public domain or free sources.
Like the Internet Archive or this Library of Congress?
Precisely. So they are intentionally blocking the easiest path. No quick Wikipedia summaries, no music blogs.
You can't just Google it.
You can't. You are forcing yourself to hunt. Instead of typing facts about this album, you're digging through digitized old magazines or historical records. That struggle creates a connection to the material that a fast search it can't replicate.
Oh, I get it now. That struggle makes the fact feel earned.
Yes. And that feeling is what you then feed the AI.
Yeah.
So Friday is when you finally cross that bridge. Script drafting, you digitally transcribe your analog notes.
Okay.
Saturday is synthesis day. You feed it all to NotebookLM and it generates your audio review. And Sunday is mandatory rest and reflection. You need to decompress after that level of input.
Phase 1, which is the first 4 weeks, is called the sensory shift. And the instructions are so specific. You have to write about cleaning the record, handling the jacket, the deliberate act of dropping the needle.
It's all about grounding yourself in the medium. And this leads right to the first mandatory checkpoint in week 4, the reflection on that sensory shift.
Right, where you have to analyze the difference between just hearing music digitally, as background noise, versus truly listening to a physical record that demands your attention when the side flips.
And that assignment specifically asks you to write about the resistance, the cravings for fast media.
So you have to document the days you were impatient when you didn't want to get up and flip the record.
And how that forced inconvenience either changed your mood or maybe deepened your focus. It's like an attention span boot camp. The friction is the source of the depth that the AI is going to leverage later.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. The whole thing hinges on a specific template in the notebook, a 2-page spread. This is the bridge that translates the human experience into data for the AI.
I'd call it the input architecture. For every album, you use 2 facing pages. Page left is what they call the sensory stack, the human side. It's all about your emotional and physiological responses.
So that side starts with describing the ritual itself, not the music, but the experience. The heavy 180-degree vinyl, the sound of the stylus drop, the texture of the jacket. You're treating the record as an object.
And then comes my favorite instruction, the close your eyes observation.
Oh, I love this part.
Right. Before you write anything analytical, you just jot down 3 color words or textures that describe the sound. Things like amber or velvet or gritty. It forces you out of your technical brain.
And then, most importantly, the internal landscape. You have to record the specific emotions or raw memories that the music triggers. This guarantees the AI gets data that is truly personal, something it can't find anywhere else.
Now, compare that to page right. That is the AI fuel. This is the structured data for the conversation.
And this is where that research from Thursday shows up. You have to note one historical fact about the recording process or the artist's intent, something you pulled from those archives.
But the crucial piece, the engine for the final product, is the host hook.
The host hook.
You have to write 2 to 3 specific, even contentious questions you want your AI hosts to debate. For example, was the producer's decision to bury the vocals an artistic choice or a technical mistake?
Or something like, did this shift to a synth sound represent a bold move, or was it just a commercial sellout?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're pre-scripting the debate. You're ensuring the AI conversation has a built-in tension point that's based on your personal feelings.
That's powerful. And the syllabus has these 2 little autodidact tips that I think are brilliant for honoring the learning process.
Oh, they're great. The first one is, if you write a thought you instantly dislike, you don't erase it. You just draw a single clean line through it.
So you're preserving the evidence of your evolving perspective.
Exactly. And the second tip is the breadcrumb method. At the bottom of the page, you write one single word that summarizes your state of mind at that moment.
Like a little emotional snapshot.
It is.
Yeah.
And all these little rituals lead you to the second major reflection in week 8, which is about intellectual honesty.
This is where you have to assess your limitations.
Right. Not just what you succeeded at, but what genres felt, impenetrable. Why you struggled with the research wall of the archives. It's about documenting the struggle. That struggle becomes part of your creative voice.
So once those 2 pages are filled out and transcribed, you finally move into the digital space, the source to studio scripting guide.
And the guiding principle here is that an AI like NotebookLM is only as good as its source material. You feed it rich, personal opinions and dense, hard-won facts, it creates poetry. You feed it boring summaries.
It creates Wikipedia. And for listeners who might not know, NotebookLM is a generative AI that only works from the documents you give it. It doesn't use the whole internet. So these analog notes become the entire world the AI lives in.
Which is why the digital script has to be structured in 3 essential sections. First, the vibe and sensory context. This is where you bring in the left page, your colors, textures, feelings. You tell the AI what the room felt like or how the bass felt heavy, like it was vibrating in your chest.
That gives the AI the color for the audio script.
It does. Second, the controversial or personal take. This uses your emotional notes and those host hooks to create the fuel for a debate. You're giving the AI your unique perspective. For instance, while critics say this is the artist's best work, I find the transition on side B to be jarring.
And that's where the AI really shines, right? Because you fed it that take, it won't just agree with you.
Not at all. It will use the facts you researched and the emotional descriptions to argue back. It generates a real unique dialogue that sounds like 2 knowledgeable hosts debating a nuanced point.
That's the payoff for all the handwriting and the archive hunting. And the third section is the curated fact.
Right, taking those hard-won research notes like, this album was recorded in a converted barn in 1969. The producer used only 2 microphones for the drums, which explains the sound you're hearing. It adds that intellectual weight.
And you still have to give NotebookLM a specific directive, what they call the deep dive optimization trick.
This is the critical step for getting the tone right. The prompt is something like, focus heavily on my personal emotional reactions and the specific historical facts I discovered. Please maintain a curious and appreciative tone.
So you're coaching the AI to adopt a human voice.
And then week 10 introduces a really fascinating, completely analog step, the art assignment.
You have to create a physical collage or a sketch to represent the shape of the sound of your favorite track.
A literal bridge between senses. You use physical materials, markers, cutouts, to create something visual, like jagged red lines for the guitar solo because it felt sharp and aggressive.
And the genius part is that you have to meticulously describe this physical art in your script so the AI can discuss it.
Yes, the AI is now forced to comment on the texture of a drawing that was inspired by the sound of a physical record. The layers of synthesis become almost absurdly complex.
So after all that creative work, the final goal is to curate all of these NotebookLM podcasts into a visual archive on a YouTube channel. You're closing the loop.
And this is where the analog integrity meets the digital world. The visual element for the video has to be the notebook scan method, a high-quality photo of your physical notebook entry or that art assignment.
You're visually showing the human work that generated the AI's output. But this involves copyrighted music, so the syllabus has extremely strict ethical guidelines.
It has to. The channel must be non-monetized. It's set up purely as a creative portfolio or an educational archive.
And you have to include the educational fair use disclaimer in every video description, citing Section 107 of the Copyright Act.
That's the legal framework that allows this. And the strategy for avoiding content ID strikes is just as clear. The audio reviews must focus only on the discussion created by NotebookLM.
You can't play long stretches of the original vinyl.
No. You're trying to avoid the automated systems that detect copyrighted music. The focus is on the commentary, not the music itself, which reinforces the entire purpose. The product isn't the review, it's the learning process documented through the AI.
And that all culminates in week 15 with the final paper, which has the brilliant title, The Needle and the Neuron.
And the paper is explicitly about the journey, not the music. The core inquiry addresses 4 pillars of the process. First, the alchemy of the process. Did handwriting actually change the nature of the AI's output?
And how did it feel hearing your most private thoughts, those emotional breadcrumbs, reflected back at you in the voice of an AI?
Second, mastery of limitations. How did you turn your struggles with a genre, with the technology, with finding facts, into a functional part of your creative voice?
Third, the research journey. Contrasting that hunting in archives versus just a quick search, and how the effort you put in changed your emotional relationship with the art.
And finally, the Autodac's conclusion. Since there were no grades, no pressure, you have to analyze what you discovered about your own intrinsic motivation.
So what does this all mean for someone listening? What's the big takeaway here?
I think this entire syllabus is a masterclass in creative constraint. By forcing you, the learner, to engage with the intentional, structured friction of analog media, the notebook, the vinyl, the archive hunt, you generate input that is just exponentially richer and more personal than any type summary.
Absolutely. The analog constraints force high-quality, high-effort input, which then leads to meaningful, unique AI output. It prevents the technology from just repeating public facts. The depth doesn't come from the AI, it comes from the slowness of the human effort.
And the success of the whole thing relies on you adhering to those honesty standards. They establish analog integrity, intellectual honesty, creative growth. You, the self-learner, become both the demanding instructor and the dedicated student.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to consider. What happens to the speed and quality of deep learning when you intentionally slow down the input process? Is the inconvenience of physical media actually the most efficient path to unique creative synthesis, even in the age of AI?